Contrary to what happened on Saturday during the sprint race, Sunday's Formula One Miami Grand Prix provided fans with a good dose of excitement. From Charles Leclerc's beautiful overtake on Lewis Hamilton, passing through the safety car that allowed Lando Norris to climb from 6th to 1st position, and ending with the heated duel between Oscar Piastri and Carlos Sainz. There's a question that fans are trying to answer. Would Lando Norris have won regardless, even without the help provided by the safety car? Before providing the verdict, let's make a recap of the strategies and analyze in detail the strategies used by all teams on Sunday at the Miami International Autodrome in Florida. It was expected to see a race with only one pit stop, and that's how it turned out despite the intervention of the virtual safety car and later that of the safety car. 8 drivers, including those who finished on the podium, opted for what on paper was the fastest option, namely medium, hard, despite the fact that there are clear differences regarding the length of stints on the Pirelli yellow compound. Alongside Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc. The ones who used the same strategy were Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell, Esteban Ocon, and Pierre Gasly. Among these, only Pierre Gasly failed to score points. Then we had Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, and Daniel Ricciardo on the reverse hard medium strategy, here too all scoring except the Australian. Zhou Guanyu was the only one to finish the race using the medium, soft solution. Opting for a 2-stop strategy medium, hard medium, taking advantage of the safety car intervention, we had Sergio Perez, Nico Hülkenberg, and Lance Stroll. Kevin Magnussen went for hard, medium, medium, while Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon decided to use all compounds. The Finnish driver used a soft, hard, medium option, and the Williams driver went for medium, hard, soft. At the end of the Miami Grand Prix, Pirelli's motorsport director analyzed the tire performance. He pointed out that it was a very linear race in terms of tire compounds, as we only had one stop with tires that, regardless of the color of the sidewall, degraded relatively little, partly due to the absence of graining. The 2 most used compounds were the C2 hard and the C3 medium, allowing the drivers to push to the maximum for almost the entire race. Of course, the virtual safety car and the safety car ruined the plans for several teams, while others were luckier or smarter, but it's all part of racing, as explained by Mario Isola in the official Pirelli review of the Miami Grand Prix. Since it's late and it'll soon be almost 48 hours since the end of the race, which was held at the Miami International Autodrome in Florida, we'll try to get straight to the point without too many frills. Lando Norris wouldn't have been able to win without the intervention of the safety car. From the moment Sergio Perez decided to pit around lap 18, the McLaren British driver found himself in 5th position, running on a clean track. The pace on the mediums became good. So good that he was the fastest even when Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen decided to pit for hard tires. In the phases leading up to the safety car, Lando Norris continued to be the fastest in the group behind him, which is why he decided to stay out and extend his stint on the mediums. However, when the safety car came out, he was leading the race with the 11.6-second advantage over the Dutchman, 14.2 seconds over the Monegasque, 15.5 seconds over Oscar Piastri, 18.4 seconds over Carlos Sainz, and 23 seconds over Sergio Perez. With the estimated pit stop time at around 19 seconds without the safety car, after the stop, Lando Norris would have returned to the track, presumably in 4th position, behind Oscar Piastri, and most likely ahead of Carlos Sainz. The excellent management of the medium tires would have allowed him to pass Sergio Perez and the Ferrari driver with a powerful overcut, but nothing more. If he then confirmed the pace seen at the end on hard tires, he could have easily caught and passed teammate Oscar Piastri, inheriting P3, but even with that pace, it would have been very difficult for him to beat Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. We have seen how difficult it was to make overtakes. Remember that Lando Norris himself, very strong in the first stint on mediums, was able to express his potential only after Sergio Perez left him free track space by deciding to pit. Otherwise, in the absence of that Red Bull intervention, Lando Norris wouldn't have had a choice but to continue following Checo closely, hoping at most for a mistake. For this reason, we can also quite easily assert that without the safety car, the British driver wouldn't have been able to win the race. That said, don't call it luck. McLaren and Lando Norris built the victory themselves. When the safety car came out, he was leading the race, showing insane pace with medium tires fitted at the start. He was able to benefit from the safety car because he showed an amazing race conduct in terms of pace and tire management. Moreover, at the restart during the 33rd lap of the 57 planned, it wasn't obvious that he would be able to maintain the position over Max Verstappen. And yet, Lando Norris proved everyone wrong once again, showing a pace that allowed him to finish the Miami Grand Prix with an impressive 7.6-second gap over the Dutchman and 9.9 seconds over Charles Leclerc. It's true that the British driver could rely on less worn tires than the pair behind him, but again, this was an advantage he built himself. Lando Norris raced with a car equipped with the new package of updates provided by McLaren in Miami. Upgrades that Oscar Piastri will also have in the next round of the 2024 Formula One Championship, which will take place at the Imola circuit. For now, it is clear that the MCL 38 single-seater has reached a very high potential. Not enough to constantly challenge Red Bull for victory as in Miami, but enough to create headaches for the men from Maranello. The only limit of the MCL 38 at the moment seems to be the pace in qualifying, and until they find the solution, Ferrari can gain time to understand its own aerodynamic update package, which should arrive in 2 weeks at Imola. The technicians of the Woking team did their homework well, and in Italy, we'll start evaluating the work done by the men and women of Ferrari. Now let's focus on Ferrari, and the reason behind Charles Leclerc's early pit stop. Ferrari has little to rest on its laurels compared to McLaren. Without the safety car, Charles Leclerc would probably have managed to beat Lando Norris, but we saw how Carlos Sainz struggled to get the better of Oscar Piastri through an incident that didn't resolve in the best way, and the Australian was only using part of the upgrades decided by the team. Almost everything was fine strategically. Both drivers were put on the best tactic, the only flaw being that strangely early stop by Charles Leclerc. We call it strange, but there is a reason. Just before the stop, Charles Leclerc was in third place behind Oscar Piastri without the opportunity to overtake and regain second position, which was lost at the start, probably during the phase when the Monegasque was working to get the tires into the right operating window, and therefore limited in defensive maneuvers against Oscar Piastri's attack. Charles Leclerc had good pace. He even set the fastest lap of the race, but not being able to pass the McLaren at the pit wall, the decision was made to play the undercut card, underestimating the potential of the medium tires. Perhaps this is the only real mistake made by the Ferrari pit wall, but as always it's easier to point it out afterwards. From Charles Leclerc's comments after the race, there was a strong feeling of regret for a decision from the pit to take him out of contention for the win. The fault could lie with that Plan B, announced to the Monegasque via radio, which forced Charles Leclerc to make the pit stop on the 19th lap, when with the same medium tires, which had no degradation, Max Verstappen stopped 4 laps later, Carlos Sainz completed another 8 laps, and Lando Norris, the winner, even 10 laps more. At the time of the stop, Charles Leclerc was 3.8 seconds behind Max Verstappen, and Norris was over 11 seconds adrift. The fight for victory was wide open, Ferrari was there, while Red Bull was not having a good day. And Max Verstappen even made a mistake trying to compensate by going wide in a corner. So there were some prospects to see a Ferrari on top in the Miami Grand Prix. But McLaren won, and Ferrari couldn't precede Red Bull because in the end, as Charles Leclerc had too many kilometers on the tires, and his performance declined instead of improving, while Carlos Sainz had lost too much time and also suffered damage in the duel with Oscar Piastri. What a shame. That something didn't go the right way is evident from the statements at the finish. Fred Vasseur, smiling, spoke of a winning pace. Charles Leclerc denied it, while Carlos Sainz supported the boss's theory by stating that without his too many misfortunes, they could have fought for the first place. In our opinion, it was a good Ferrari, unable, however, to capitalize on Max Verstappen's less than ideal day, the one where Adrian Newey was hosted for the last time in the Red Bull box, while now everyone trembles thinking about the enormous baggage of knowledge and experiences he will bring to Ferrari, with which he has been in negotiations for over a year.